This week, we're going to interview Mr. Russell Beauchemin. We welcome him back to the show. We're going to do a formal interview, and he's going to talk about his telepresence robot. Doug White also joins us back in the studio, in addition to Jeff Mann, to make for a very interesting evening, as we're going to talk about some PHP insecurities, along with Microsoft OLE, or OLE, bugs, and much more. So, stay tuned. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where exploits run wild, packets aren't the only things getting sniffed, and the cocktails flow steady. It's Paul's Security Weekly. Security Weekly is brought to you by the SANS Institute, the most trusted source for computer security training, certification, and research. Visit SANS.org to explore the full curriculum and latest training offerings. Onapsis, the leading provider of solutions to protect ERP systems from cyber attacks. Customers can secure their SAP and Oracle business-critical platforms from espionage, sabotage, and financial fraud and risks. Visit them on the web at onapsis.com. Pony Express. Check out their line of penetration testing devices, including the Pwn Pad, the Pwn Phone, and the Pwn Pro. For enterprises, there's Pwn Pulse, providing continuous visibility into wired, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth spectrums across all physical locations, including remote sites and branch offices. For all those hard-to-reach places, there's Pony Express. Visit them on the web at ponyexpress.com. Welcome, everyone, to Security Weekly. I'm, of course, your host, Paul Asadori, and excited to be here as always. It's very interesting tonight. All of our co-hosts are in studio. There is no one on the lines via Skype. In studio, starting to my left, Mr. Jeff Mann. Welcome, Jeff, back to the show, fresh off the heels of Circuit City Con. Yes. Circuit City. I always say Circuit City Con instead of Circle City Con because I love Circuit City. Well, it used to when it was a thing. It's not a thing anymore. But Circle City Con is a thing, and you were doing your thing at the thing.
I did my thing.
At the thing. You did a workshop thing.
I did a workshop. It actually went really well. Somebody at the workshop actually signed up because they heard us talking about it here at Security Weekly.
I told you, you're more famous now. As if you weren't famous before, now you're more famous.
I am that.
If that was even possible.
It is possible.
Doug White, whose name is famous as well as you are, as the old guy that's on the news, too.
The dead guy. He's dead.
He's dead now?
You know how many times I have to argue with people in Rhode Island about that he's dead?
And they have to Google it?
He died in 2007, and they say, oh, no, I saw him last week. And I'm like, no, if you saw him last week, you better run like hell because you got a big problem.
He was at the coffee shop.
No, they say that. I get that all the time. And somebody
Really?
says, yeah, they argue with me that he's not dead. And I'm like, no, he's dead. I know he's dead. I checked. I called his family, like everybody, and I kept asking them, is he dead? Really? Have you checked? But no, he's dead. He died in 2007.
He did, really?
But yeah, see, that's the same thing.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's like a test.
Do they rerun his? Do they take clips of him and run it now to make it seem like just for those that don't know, in Rhode Island, Doug White was a guy on the news, but we have our own Doug White here. Rest in peace, the other Doug White.
Yeah, I don't read the news. Yeah, I usually make the news. So.
He's reincarnated.
We just make up the news.
I get the police report.
Yeah.
So.
Russell Beauchemin is here with us. Did I say that right?
You sure did, Paul.
Excellent. Russell, welcome back to Security Weekly. I wasn't here. Thank you guys for filling in. Well, Russell was filling in. You weren't, but you're here now. And we're having cigars.
I had to go study entropy.
Why'd you miss the episode last week, Paul?
My wife had a baby.
Yeah.
That's how I phrased it as my wife had. I didn't have the baby.
Yeah,
I was just a spectator.
You just stood around and watched.
She had the baby.
Did you cheer her on?
I did. I was.
Did you video it?
Did my mic go out?
No, I can hear. I can hear you.
I hear you.
I can hear you live.
We hear you.
Okay.
Do you need a jiggle?
I do. I need a jiggle. Like all of a sudden, I can't.
If you shake it more than twice, it's playing with it.
I mean, I hear myself in the room, but not through my. Anyway. So we had a baby.
Congratulations.
You didn't get to do the like '60s thing where you go sit and like I asked my dad because I was born in
that was a thing. Like you couldn't be.
I asked my dad and he said, "Oh no, they take your mother and they gave her like anesthesia." And I went out to the waiting room and all the men sat out there and they came out and said, "Sir, you have a baby. Congratulations, and she'll be fine."
And they pat each other on the back.
Yeah, and you head to the bar and go, "Yeah," it's like Mad Men or something. Yeah,
I was like
put your hat on
through the whole process. Now
you were born in the '60s.
Yeah, I was born in 1963. Can you believe that? And in the same in the same hospital as Quentin Tarantino. At the same, he was born just like a month before me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, I was there through the whole process, right?
Of him being born. Or your son being born.
My son being born.
Okay.
And we debated. So I went against my wife's recommendation. She's like, no social media. I'm like,
so no live Facebook streaming.
I'm like, so I can't live tweet it. She's like, well, not unless all your Twitter followers want to send us diapers. I'm like, okay. I'm like, so I start live tweeting it. Right? And one of my first tweets was, my wife and I are in the emergency room at this point. See, now I can actually mute my phone because I don't have to worry about my wife going into labor because we already had the baby.
Oh, that's right.
Last time, I'll do that in a minute. But anyway, so we're in the emergency room waiting to go up into labor and delivery. And she's hooked up to the monitors for the baby's heartbeat and the contractions, right? And it's all up on a screen. And she's like, Paul, look up at the screen. She's like, it's the baby's heartbeat. And I look up and I'm like, is that Windows 98?
Oh, my God.
And she's like, really? Can you, like, turn that off for a little while? I'm like, no, hold on. Oh, so I put that out on Twitter. And still to this day, the baby was born last Tuesday, there are people liking and retweeting that tweet. It has over 1,200 retweets and over 2,000 likes on Twitter.
I don't know if I got them out of order, but I saw the tweet you said about the picture of your backyard and the lawn, and you said this is where it all started.
Because you went into labor after mowing the lawn.
I assumed that you guys just got busy out on the lawn.
No.
That was exactly what I thought. I was like, okay, this is where it all started. Okay.
No.
Okay, TMI.
We didn't.
I've got one, though. I know it's your moment, but I you know me. When my wife was in labor,
Aren't you fighting Doug anyway?
Aren't you
I know.
dead?
They keep letting me in. I just walked in off the street.
2007.
When my wife was in labor at the hospital, the anesthesiologist came in to do a epidural. So they put a needle into your spine. It's like super creepy, cool to watch.
Yeah.
Because I love that stuff. Well, that hospital didn't have Windows 98. They had Linux.
No way.
And there was zero security on it. Well, this woman in the next room was screaming.
Doesn't matter. It was Linux.
No, this woman was screaming next door, and I was like, I wonder what's going on. I was able to shift our screen from our monitor of my wife's vitals to the vitals from the room next door. I just reached out and grabbed it. And the anesthesiologist got completely distracted with what I was doing. He's like, how are you doing that? And he was like, saying, my wife was like, hey, over here, goddammit. Like, I really need some. There's a needle sticking out of my back. And I was like, in a minute, honey, in a minute. Come on.
I'm showing how to
Let me show him how to.
Are you feeling any pain? Okay,
Yeah.
we'll get back to you.
Sorry.
Yeah, so it underscored for me a lot of the issues that we have, because a lot of the tweets that I was getting were, I noticed that too when my wife was in labor, or I noticed that too when I was at the hospital. And it was all this kind of reassurance that the hospital in healthcare, like the state of security in healthcare, is really apparent to a lot of us, and it's very poor. So,
It's almost non-existent.
and the amount of traction that tweet got, it kind of makes me, I need to look into this issue further. We need to bring on some healthcare security people in healthcare, maybe do a healthcare roundtable, which is interesting because we're sitting around a round table today.
Can we get a shot on the round table?
There's the round. We have a round table. So we need to spend some more time on that. So that was in addition to the lawn tweet, because yes, my wife did mow the lawn, and then
I caught that later, but I'm like,
and I said, this is where it all started.
That
and
makes
people are like, oh, you conceived
so much
on the
more
lawn.
sense.
And I was like, I might as well just go with it. Yes, we conceived on the lawn.
Yeah. One other thing about the healthcare thing too, I've had a lot of calls from like doctors' offices because what's happened is, they can no longer develop an X-ray on site. It's all digital. They no longer have their dark room where they literally used to go and pour the chemicals.
My wife does X-ray and ultrasound. And,
Well, now that they're sharing everything, what they've done is they've started bringing all these like local doctors' offices and things online.
Yeah. So you just shoot the X-ray over.
So the hospital may even have some security, but what they do is then they bolt on, Bob's clinic down on Main Street, and Bob doesn't have any security at all, or maybe he fakes having security, and all of a sudden you've got this whole back door with people sitting in there bored, waiting to get their prostate exam or whatever. and they're going, I wonder what else I could do here while I'm sitting here and waiting for that fun thing.
They're doing a penetration test before their penetration.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Or long after.
Why are there only one? Why are both hands on my back?
So, Russell,
This is going downhill
that was a
fast.
great segue. So, Russell, you're a graduate of Rhode Island College. And it's interesting. You got your bachelor's in English. You minored in chemistry. You have a master's in media studies, and you're pursuing a PhD in education at Lesley University.
Which ordinarily would tell me you're a waiter somewhere.
Right, except I actually teach. So,
wow, okay. Cool.
Yeah, I do like bartending on the side, actually more along the lines of because of the chemistry aspect of my...
Of course, you do some really interesting things
Yeah,
with
so I
chemistry
do a
as
little
well.
bit of molecular mixology on the side with...
Is that like a thing? Molecular mixology?
So is molecular gastronomy.
Yeah.
Is that
and
like the study of
Why
farts?
isn't he...
the cocktail geeks. Yeah, well, we talked about that last week, but so it's a lengthy, involved process, and basically, I really love learning, and like I am a lifelong learner, and I like to find common ground between fields that seemingly don't have it. Like my master's degree in media studies. Correlated HTML coding with music. So I made a one-to-one correlation of HTML tag language to MIDI standards. And then so I decoded, or what I didn't know at the time, encrypted web pages as music. And then I presented at this conference in New Orleans, which was kind of cool. And my dean at the time had told me, hey, this is like, this was during the Second Iraq War. We could market this and use it. So I put it up for sale, $5, right? Nobody bought it. And, but because I didn't spend the extra time, like, hey, I got my master's degree. This is fantastic. Why, are you going to create a decryption code, algorithm? And I'm like, no, we'll let somebody else do that. I just like listening to the jazziness of the website. So that's, I like finding correlations between different seemingly unrelated systems. So.
Have you done any back HTML masking?
I haven't.
No?
No, I haven't.
Or tried to synchronize websites to any of Pink Floyd's albums?
No, I have not. So,
What is HTML5?
You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, I did HTML back when I was doing it. It was 2, I think, version 2. And we only had 131 tags to work with, which, incidentally enough, was just about the number of instruments in that MIDI standard. So it was virtually a one-to-one correlation. So I was like, you know what, this is here. And then I programmed it in .NET. Yeah,
Well, there you go.
All right, whatevs. And so I programmed it in .NET because it was easy, and I just wanted proof of concept.
There's nothing wrong with .NET. Yeah.
Or what's the other one? You have to find the web page that'll synchronize when you turn it into music to the Wizard of Oz.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right. You have to start it right at the right point, though.
yeah.
If you're in the listening audience under the age of 30, you can Google all this to figure out what
Yeah,
we're talking
if you don't know what he's talking about, there was
You
a whole
need to
bunch of
arrange
weird
the
stuff.
They played it at PPAC. I mean, come on, it's become a thing.
If you look at a WordPress site, it actually plays the Imperial March. No matter how, I don't know why.
Can't help it. It's just set up that way.
Yep, that's the way it's
I get that sometimes at conferences, too.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I do.
Actually. So you are looking into some of the security issues with augmented reality. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, that's right now. That's the focus of my research.
Google Glass and the new Microsoft the HoloLens that you brought last week, which I was trying out before the show. The video game was really cool.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean the solar system was cool.
Yeah.
The video game was actually really fun.
Yep.
Which planet did you spend the most time
I
hanging around?
spent it in Uranus.
Okay.
I mean on Uranus. I mean.
Yeah,
Around,
not
behind.
not in.
Was studying your. Never mind.
Well, Paul, Gay Pride in Providence is this weekend. Just letting you know.
Every year. It's fine. So tell us about the security issues with. I mean, Google Glass. It didn't really take off. It's interesting. I know some people who bought it and were like, "Wow, that was a colossal waste of money." And your HoloLens was how? What does that retail?
Twice the cost of Google Glass, so 32 with tax. It was $3,200.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they're expensive.
Yeah, they are.
But what are some of the security ramifications?
Well, we talked about a little bit last week about that, and so with the HoloLens, you can literally just put it on, and now you have a fully functioning operating system. There's no password, no authentication. It's app-based to some extent. There are certain apps on there, but it does run a semi-fully functioning Windows operating system. So I have Edge. All right, we can say what we want about Edge, but Edge for the browser. I've got my Outlook and my calendar on there, so I can just open up all my email. So obviously, issue.
Can you make a phone call with it?
Actually, interesting enough, Skype is built in.
Yeah, you could do Skype.
Yeah, Skype is built in. So I guess, yes, you can. And
I use Skype for my calls all the time.
Oh,
yeah.
then...
Well, more and more Google Hangouts, but that's the whole Google, Apple, Microsoft, pick your poison.
Yep. So it does have all that, and there's no password, which, that was a big thing. Chris and Larry were both like, kind of like that last week. So
but it's a developer version, though,
it is.
right?
Yeah,
so,
this is not production.
I think they're kind of like on the sort of alpha side of these products.
Absolutely.
And, that's interesting. That speaks to a lot of startup kind of security.
Sure.
Yeah. Michael Santarcangelo and I are going to be talking a lot more about startup security, not just security startups, but how does a startup incorporate security, when, how, the whole thing. When you're doing something as cutting edge, bleeding edge as that, security's like the last thing. Like, let's just see if this actually works, and then we'll worry about security. But what I think needs to happen moving forward, and you can agree or disagree, is that when we do have these really super cool concepts, to build some security in from the beginning.
Sure. Yep.
So otherwise, this could start to go to market, and they're like, oh yeah, security, we should tack some of that stuff on. Like, maybe we'll make it do a password, but then they're just kind of rushing it in to get it to market.
This is the paradigm shift that needs to happen, because the tradition in coding was always that you make it work first, and then you worry about the bolt-ons in the back end. Because when I wrote code for the bank or whatever, I didn't worry about logins, passwords, or anything until the code was up and working. So the alphas went out, and people were dealing with it. Now, that is the change that needs to happen, and it's not happened yet. And you got generations of programmers who learn to make it work, keep it working, and they don't think about security. But I think until you start building the security maybe even first, like you should have secured this gadget and looked at the threat vectors before you even built anything else.
I really think in your case, Doug, when you're writing software for a bank, you should be able to write code to perform some kind of function or develop that functionality. Then there should be a team who's developed all that authentication and tested it, and you're just bolting right onto that.
I know, but then it always gets lost, and it becomes a secondary feature. So to me, if you thought about the authentication, the keys, and everything on the front end before the code, that might be a security team that comes in and looks at the code design and says, before we even write one line of code, because once you built the code, you're always bolting things onto the back end of the code, and it's always going to be that capsule that's got little things stuck on the side of it, hole drilled in it.
No, I see what you're saying. Like, the module could be really secure, but how it bolts onto you, it's like encryption, like how it's bolted together.
And I mean,
the vulnerability.
And there's things that, you could absolutely build on at the end. So if I write a really simple piece of code, it's just a screen, adding the login, okay, no big deal.
Right.
But if I'm writing stuff that's full of holes because I'm a lousy programmer, or I just don't even think about security, and then later a security team comes by and pen tests it, and they say, oh, it's full of holes. Now I'm patching. Who knows when I'm going to patch all that? So if you built it secure from the...
like Adobe still fixing
you could be a great programmer, but nobody ever told you had to build security into it, because everybody wants you to build it to make it work.
Right.
And I wonder, because this is a very common theme in the hacker community, to point their fingers at the coders. And, the coders need to learn how to code securely. And I'm like, but they're not motivated. They have no reason to.
They have no, and so you'll never get that.
How much of it has to do with, in the old days, I was talking about this with somebody over the weekend at Circle CityCon. CityCon. In the old days, innovation came about because somebody needed something.
Yep.
Necessity is the mother of invention, but we lapped that a long time ago, and we build cool stuff, and then we figure out what to do with it.
Right. Yes.
And if we're building cool stuff, and then we look for an application, where does security play into that at all?
How do you determine how secure or what the security?
Because you don't even know what you're building to sometimes.
How are people going to use Google Glass or the HoloLens?
Right.
We don't really know. So how do you secure it?
It has to become a gestalt. It has to become. It's not two things. It's all the same thing, because for coders, it's always going to be about making it work. And when you work in the real world all the time, I mean, I remember the phone never stopped ringing with people saying, "Get this back online, get this fixed," and there was just no time for me to sit down and go, "Let's form a team." And
By real world, you mean before you died in 2007?
Yeah, before I died, because when I was alive, it was so much easier to code. But now that I'm dead, it's a little more challenging. But we can only get command line stuff now. It's no more OO stuff. We're all back to just
monochromatic screens.
Yeah, the way it ought to be.
So, what are some of the applications for Google Glass in the HoloLens, and how does security play into some of the applications that we're talking? Gaming is certainly.
Oh yeah, gaming. Yeah, you played that.
Yeah. Talk about that. I mean, the gaming is super cool.
Yeah, the gaming. I mean, and there's another acronym too, VAMR, which is Virtual Augmented and Mixed Reality, or VAMR, right? So another acronym we can add to the to the canon, if you will. Olé! And what you were playing was a mixed reality game, and he was playing what was it, Hollow Invasion or whatever it was called. It was Robo Invasion.
Uranus Invasion.
Okay, so yeah, that and
RoboCock.
And so
no, that's a different movie.
So that we have to keep our clothes on. Remember, Jeff. And so,
damn it.
Specifically, you, Jeff. Remember that.
And so, the games you saw proof of concept. Then they had another tower defense game, which if you know what that is, it's where you can move a globe around and like these robots come out. Interesting, these robots coming out and doing.
Was that the one where the gestures were all like this?
Yeah, right. And so they have that and that kind of thing. Another, it's mostly meant for, well, at least in my understanding, proof of concept of design within a design reality. Mm-hmm. So no longer do you have to use a three-dimensional screen, retrofitted to a two-dimensional environment, because that's what this is, right? Now you can literally, as you saw, walk around the sun and look at that sunspot, and like you get the full-on 3D feel and effect.
Like virtual reality porn.
Okay, yep. I haven't experienced that myself, but
that wasn't a sunspot. No.
So I was watching a thing about how they make that, right? Mm-hmm. There's actually like tons of cameras.
Yeah.
All on these special tripods and everything, and that's what allows you to.
That's true.
Walk basically like you're on the set when they're shooting.
Yep.
What's the movie with Robin Wright, the one that she's in, that she was doing, that she was a virtual actress?
Oh, is that with Al Pacino?
Yeah. And they used the soundstage for this.
Yeah, was it Simone?
Yeah, they were using a soundstage that showed that, and it was just this, like 800 cameras, like all the way. I'm sure that it's a power of two, it should have been, but it's like a lot of cameras all the way around her. So maybe like 1,024 cameras or something.
Yeah, now they're using Xbox Kinect. Go figure, a Microsoft product. And when Alex Kipman, the developer, or the person in charge of the whole development for this particular product, had presented it on stage, he had what they call now HoloPort, which is teleportation, but using holograms. They had a gentleman from NASA, his name escapes me right now, and they were able to holoport real time in front of the TED audience, right on stage, into this mushroom-filled kingdom, which was kind of very Lewis Carrollish, Alice in Wonderland. And they were literally on the camera. You could see what Alex and the gentleman from NASA saw, but being in the audience itself, you didn't see that. You had to look at the monitors. So so it wasn't like this thing mysteriously appeared. And then even you could have avatars now. So you could literally be like that movie Avatar or any other number of sci-fi and change. Like if I wanted to be a girl today, I could have my avatar as a female. If it's like Second Life meets Avatar meets Simone or something like that. So the gaming industry is big. I just got back I went to CES in America this year because I went to the one in China last year. This year, and the adult entertainment industry, as you rightfully pointed out, is a huge backer of. This type of adult entertainment, this new wave, if you will.
Well, it's really an economic issue for the adult, because
they're a $10 billion a year industry.
Well, and porn is essentially free, and they need something they can charge for, and this is what they're
right.
Yeah,
and so couple that with output devices, if you will, and maybe some input devices, and now you've created this whole idea of what is it, Judge Dredd, with whatever Sandra Bullock movie and Sylvester Stallone were in together, and then they, when she wanted to be intimate with Sylvester Stallone's character, and she's like, no, don't touch me, you know what I mean, and put these on, and they had like, So it's kind of like that.
Judge Dredd. That's right.
Yeah, was it Judge Dredd? My
Judge Dredd.
sci-fi metaphors, or
Armand Asante. Was in that one, too.
So, yeah, you're right.
So that,
He does cigars. That's why I always remember.
yeah.
Now we're completely segueing.
Armand
Yeah.
Asante.
But it was interesting.
Olé!
Design.
I am the law. My favorite line from that movie.
Design is a big part of what this was invented for. People who are engineers and architects. I mean, I've shown this device to a couple of people who own businesses, firms, and things like that, and they're floored. They're like, oh my God, this is going to change. Yeah, it's going to change everything.
Well, if you could walk through a building you're designing, just like you do now. I mean, with AutoCAD and things, you get these virtual renderings and whatever. But or imagine for realty. If I want, because I mean, I've moved a lot around the country, and if I want to move back to Colorado or whatever, can you imagine if you're looking at houses, you don't have to fly there, you could just literally walk through, somebody else can wear another set of goggles and walk through the house, and you can say, oh, look over there, what is that growing in the corner?
Mold.
In Colorado, probably not mold.
No, it's not mold.
Well, yeah.
I was thinking of it as an upside to the house sale.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is there a possibility for using it for teaching, like surgeons? They could practice that.
Absolutely.
That brain surgery procedure.
Absolutely. And one of the apps that I didn't show Paul because I didn't have a chance to, they have a Hollow Anatomy, which was developed by Case Western University. Mm-hmm. They dumped a bunch of money into the development of this program, and you can literally put this on and walk through the human body.
Yeah. So you can literally walk through Uranus.
Yeah, and out your mouth. And,
It's better to do that in the other direction, though.
Yeah, I would think so.
And the code
Unless you're South Park.
The code is matured to the point, so it's rather elementary.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're in medicine, I mean, this has wild implications for that. Imagine the people who are practicing telesurgery right now. Controlling, specialists that are controlling from Japan or America who are controlling robots on the other side.
Well, it's really a user access device, like a mouse or a keyboard.
Yeah.
So the security implications seem to me to be much less. I mean, we talk about intercepting wireless communications from keyboard and mice. Mm-hmm. I mean, this would fall into that category. But aside from that, really...
I don't know. To me, there's some issues because I'll use the telepresence surgery. I way back in the this was in the 80s maybe. We were working on this thing in Scotland where they had a problem with that. There was these Scottish clinics, and they were so far from like a surgeon. When they needed emergency surgery techniques, they were actually using just literally video broadcast so that a surgeon in London or somewhere could actually walk this person through the procedure, which was pretty terrifying to me. It's just like, here's this guy who was working on this horse yesterday, and now they're going, okay, cut that. No, not that. You don't want it. No, oh my God. But if you could put that on, but the security issue is, what if people could jam that or interfere with it or cause it to display images in a different way? Right. If you were using that for some kind of tactile thing, or you're interacting with the environment and somebody can skew it just a little bit, I mean, it could be unbelievable.
Right.
And I mean, I could see people going after something like that. They go, they're using it for surgery.
It's a little bit of a tangent, but I filled out some online survey today because they promised me a Amazon gift card. So I suffered through 150 some questions, but it was all about.
But that $5
it's all about what's the worst cyber attack that could happen, and they kept having all sorts of scenarios in the financial realm, in the critical infrastructure, and they kept saying, why do you think that's more likely to happen or less likely to happen?
Sure.
And they lumped together terrorists and hackers, and I'm thinking, most of the hacking that goes on today is financial. They figured out how to make money. And there's all these dreaded things that could go happen. Right. Especially, taking down the infrastructure, taking down the economy. I'm like, yeah, but there's no money in that. And while it could happen,
it does happen. Not at a grandiose scale, but it does happen.
It does happen, but not to the degree.
Happened, but
that was different. I can't speak about that.
Okay.
But then he has to kill us all.
But why would
we all know the U.S. funded it?
Why would somebody mess up a virtual surgery going on just because? Unless they're operating on the president.
I know, but I mean, I think you're thinking like a little further up the tree. I mean, you guys are dealing with like actual hackers. I'm thinking more about like a lot of security stuff we deal with is there was a 13-year-old kid at school and he found this, I call it the war games problem. Mm-hmm. There's a 13-year-old kid at the high school, he's bored, and he just says, I don't even know what I'm doing here. I'm just fooling with this. I mean, maybe he's not even doing it with a total maliciousness. It's just more like, watch what happens when I do this. The doctor says, oh, shit. So I keep doing it, and then the doctor keeps saying, oh, shit, and then 2 days later they read about it in the newspaper and go, oh, man, look what we did. Oh, my God. So, I mean, I think those are...
And then he's like, look, I think that's Windows 90.
98.
I remember my dad talking about this Windows 90-something.
His virtual headset is running Windows 98.
But there's we were talking about this last time I was up here. There needs to be, I think, in the commercial world, some degree of risk assessment that starts to evaluate the value of the data or the value of what you're trying to protect, rather than, well, it's got to be secure. You got to do the nth degree. I'm like, well, do you? What is the risk? What's the likelihood that something's going to happen?
The good news about it, and bad news at the same time, is one of the problems with like the medical health care is lawyers, attorneys, and people who do the litigation, the malpractice stuff, don't really understand this. They have no idea what we're talking about, but they're learning.
Right.
And as they learn, suddenly you're going to see a malpractice case revolving around this. So what that means is that Microsoft's going to have to get their actuarials involved before they ever release this product to a hospital. So that will... I always say that, I mean, if you want to drive security, insurance is what's going to drive it, because the insurance people will come after you, and they got actuarials and lawyers, and they're going to eat you alive, and they're going to take your company and say, well, go ahead, don't do it. And then you're going to have, we won't write your malpractice insurance because you're using a Windows 98 enabled headset. And there's no way we can insure that. But right now, they don't even know what that is. So if a doctor comes in with a gadget, they're just kind of going, okay, yeah, sure, I think that's okay. And they don't really
existing case law. Yeah, it's like this device here. This is the Google Glass. This is currently being used. It was currently being used. I don't know if it still is at Rhode Island Hospital. They got a grant for 15 of these, right? And they give them to their paramedics, so that if there's an extremely severe case of whatever it might be, the paramedics put these on, and the doctor can do remote diagnose, or at least remote. Not treatment, but they can assess the situation better.
Triage, right.
Yeah, triage, exactly. So, and they can do remote triage. And because before they nerfed the device, nerf meaning they got rid of that feature, they no longer have the two-way video communication. They were able to do that, over...
And now they just use FaceTime?
I don't know. Yeah, right. I have no idea what they do. Right, they use FaceTime. But, I was at CES 3 years ago in the United States when I got this, the 2 months after I got these. And I was broadcasting back to my students in the classroom the Capcom booth at CES because they wanted to see the new Resident Evil. So I was interviewing some guy who was dressed up like whatever character from Resident Evil, and they're like, go talk to him. So I had all 80 of my students appear in the monocle display, and they were talking to me through bone conductive BCT communication.
Acronym.
Yeah, BCT. And so I could feel my inner ear, and it tickles. I don't know if you've ever played with BCT, but it vibrates your inner ear. And so you can hear it, nobody else can. And so they were telling me what to say. So I was literally the avatar of my students, as the paramedic is the avatar to the doctor who's communicating, and so that's kind of interesting and also displacing at the same time, right? I felt like I was disembodied. I felt like I became my own robot slave. And
I think there's a longer time curve here, but I feel like this technology will have more applications that are actually meaningful, such as the security of tablets.
Yep.
Like when the iPad first came out, we're like, who's going to use that, right? And we're all looking at these headsets going, who's going to use that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, the iPad obviously took off and everyone has more than one tablet. And I think these are going to probably go down the same path or some variation of
It's just real early alpha to me.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been through this many times since the 70s, and it's the same. I see it exactly the same way, where somebody's setting three things on the table, and everybody's going, how weird, how's it going to work, what are we going to do with it? And, 5 years later, the sort of model comes out that everybody wants, and here's the new Apple Holo
Zip
whatever.
drives are awesome.
Oh my God!
But now everyone has a USB thumb drive. Right?
Exactly, and I remember when all that stuff went on, and people were going, "How would you? No way you're going to use that. It's crazy." I remember people telling me that about flash drives and going,
Like, why would you need all that
you
storage?
can't put your data on there. I mean, are you crazy? You're not going to put stuff on there. Use these floppy disks; they're reliable.
It's like when you got the IBM XT, desktop computer with the 10 meg hard drive. Like,
Hey,
I had Commodore 64. I know. What am I going to do with 64?
you want to know what I paid? I paid $3,000 for a 10 meg hard hard drive. I had the baddest ass hard drive in
You know how many
town.
5 1/4 floppies that is?
I know. It was a lot. I had 256K.
No, how many
memory,
is
too.
it? Do the math.
Yeah, someone's doing the math right now. Going, why don't you know the math, Paul? So what is this thing?
That's the mind wave. That's by a company
So
called
can you control
Neurosky.
my brain?
So,
Yeah.
well, I can control my brain. It's a one-way device. It's
He's
an
just wondering what else you can tickle with it.
Yeah. Don't put it on below the belt. Yeah.
It's not doing
You won't
it.
have any more kids.
Nothing's happening.
It's an
That's good because I'm done. So
Yeah.
this is great. I don't
It's
have to.
instant
Leave
vasectomy.
it there for about another minute. You'll be good.
Technological innovation.
Virtual vasectomy. There you
Yeah.
go. .com. Larry said you guys register domains. Go for it. Anyway, that's an EEG reader. It's a Neurosky.
Is it on? Is it?
It's not on yet. Here, let me.
How does it go on?
Let me show you. And that's not quite like that. Nope.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I don't know how.
Here, you demonstrate.
I don't
Yeah,
know
put
if
it
they're
on him.
gonna. I don't know if they're gonna complain because I have to take half of this off. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, you're
All right. So it goes kind of like this.
Okay.
All right. And then this thing clips. I look like such an idiot right now, I'm sure. And this thing clips to my ear like an earring. And then I turn the device. On.
So that little thing goes like on your forehead.
There we go. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
All right. So
You
you,
don't need
can
to
still
hear
hear
us.
me. And
And then
I need both hands.
that's what she said.
So it goes like this. Clips to the ear. And I turn it on. There's a little button in the back, and it communicates
turn it
via
on.
Bluetooth.
Turn it on for me. And then, okay, so I'm
You gonna do it?
I'm gonna wear it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I want you to read my brain.
Clip it to
Yeah,
the
we want to read
that
Paul's
would be
brain.
scary.
There you go.
It's just like a sine wave.
All right. So
This is really a good time not
gonna
to be
put this
listening
back
to the podcast and go find the webcast.
So this is a two-wave reader. It reads up to 100 hertz, 100 megahertz, and and clip it to the like an earring. Oh, you know what you're doing. And can you? You got to put it like right here. Yep. There you go. Perfect. This is known as a dry EEG, so you don't need any electroconductive gel.
No good if it's dry.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
oh great. Okay, it fits. So now
You were wanting that electroconductive gel. I can see it in your eyes.
some lubrication.
He was
All
already
right.
thinking about
It's always
brands.
better with lube.
We've
Yeah.
got lube somewhere. Where
There's a
is
big
it?
bucket back there, right
There
behind
it
you.
is. There.
Oh Jesus!
55
That literally
gallons.
says lubricant. Oh my God! I thought it was beer. I thought it was beer.
That's
All
why
right.
he's had such a funny taste in his mouth all week.
All right.
Someone write this down. I
Oh,
thought
God.
it was beer because that's the name of this episode.
I thought it was beer.
All right. So it's
Someone
not.
write that on
It
the
literally
whiteboard.
isn't beer, guys. It is hybrid
That
lubricant.
minty taste really got to me.
All right. And so what I'm
It's
doing
like strawberries. I don't know why.
is okay. Now what I want you to do is I want you to. There are two.
I'm gonna think of a number.
No,
from
no, you
1 to
can't.
10.
It doesn't work like that. There are two channels it can measure. It can measure your attention and
I'm thinking
meditation.
of a sexual position right now.
Oh, doggy style.
Oh my God.
All right.
We got it. Oh, look.
So now what it does is it brings up, let me, I don't know if the camera's going to be able to see this, but so it brings up a visualizer, and I can look at, and again, this is not super scientific.
Hold on. Can we get a close up of
ext-
me wearing this thing? We lost our camera operator. He's gone.
It's like Paul's bondage night or
He's,
something.
he
Oh, no,
found-
it's.
you know the camera found the one that's filled with beer, and that's what
Or
they're doing.
yeah.
That's what they're doing.
Or lube.
He's busy writing on the
It's
whiteboard.
Borg,
Come back.
Borg bondage. That's what it is.
.com.
BorgBondage.com. Okay, I got to
So-
see if that one's registered.
All right.
Virtual vasectomy's available, by the way.
There you go.
All right. So
You're going to
here's,
that camera there.
here's
There you
Paul. Here's Paul's brainwaves from what is it, 8 to 12.
Now think about
to
that
12
time.
to
On
30.
think about that time in your lawn.
All right. I don't know if you can see it, but Paul, what I want you to do is I want you to blink. And that's real. I want you to clear your mind, and I want you to blink regularly. And I want them to see it like a pulse, if they can see it. I don't know. But let me show this to Paul, too. He can see it. Well, Jeff and Paul.
Okay.
Can you see the little, it looks like EKG?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, your
So-
screen's going to sleep. Modern technology.
Shit. Sorry. So you can see, it can detect what's going on in your brain. And there's only two channels, and the channels are attention and meditation. And so focus and relaxation. And
So that focus one for me is dipping greatly, right?
so it's like if you just clear, yeah, if you're focusing on doing something like speaking or listening to something or looking at other people, that's fine. And then if you're thinking about meditation where you're just clearing your mind, yeah. And so what's interesting about this device is they've created an SDK and you can convert the numeric output or digital analog output into digital, and then redo it into analog for different devices. So the first application I saw was with these. So you would wear that device on your head, and also, well, okay, there you go. Yeah, he's gonna go crazy.
I don't know if I can fit all this stuff on my head. Hold on. Okay.
Well, not in your eye.
Oh God!
There you go. Okay. So that's
now I look like a Borg.
So
you do look like a Borg.
You do.
So
Locucius.
Yeah,
you look a lot like Picard when he was a Borg.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is.
You're getting very Picard looking right about now. So.
The reason why I bought that device is because somebody created an application which connected the Neuros guy.
7 of 9. Where is she? Oh,
Raul, more lube.
No beer.
Yeah, we call it. We keep saying that.
And what this guy did was he created an application that the more you concentrated, so it would take a picture with the Google Glass.
Wow. Can we get a close up of them?
The mind wave.
Hold it up.
Yeah, let's hold it.
Yeah, they have a close up on me, so
Yeah, they can zoom on that. There it is.
This is my brain.
Now,
And this is your brain on
now
drugs.
blink.
Podcast.
Now think about that day on the lawn.
Now blink so that they can see it.
Okay, I'm blinking.
Blink regularly.
And
So
if you,
there you go.
I don't know what the resolution is.
1, 2, 3.
But it's like an
1, 2.
EKG coming right across there.
Yeah.
I'm very
See the
relaxed
blinking.
right now. I could use another cocktail. It'd be even more
Ooh,
relaxed.
it's turning
I wonder
in-
how it would change if I had a lot more cocktails.
It's turning into like geometric solids.
What does it
That's really
mean when
cool.
it turns yellow?
Um,
I have no
Sex.
idea.
You got me. But anyway, so you can create with a simple SDK and a little bit of programming an output that will input into some other device. So I'm thinking about drones.
How does it measure my attention?
So you just focus. So like focus.
He's
focus.
never done that before.
Oh.
No.
So-
it's like at 0 the whole time.
So
Russell.
your
What's going on?
What does that feel like? to
Your
focus?
neurons generate electrical impulses, as you know, and they resonate, I guess, at certain frequencies. I'm not a neurologist, but this is my research.
Damn it,
what's
Jim.
going on. Yeah, I'm not a neurologist. I'm a
I'm a
technologist.
doctor, not a neurologist.
I'm a lube specialist, not a.
And so, the alpha
I'm
waves.
trying not to pay attention to it. It sounded like 20 right now.
The alpha waves resonate, I guess, at 8 to 12 megahertz, and then the beta waves resonate
if I really
from
focus
12
on
to
the
30,
number, like, is it?
something like that.
Well, yeah.
It's just moving randomly, isn't it?
That means
no,
your
it's
focus
not.
is not good.
I mean, we were talking about Rand,
Yeah.
and you Rand earlier, but no, it's not moving randomly. It
it's
it has a
pseudo-random.
legitimate
It's
purpose.
pseudo-random.
So,
real random.
you know,
Poisson.
possible, but it's
Like,
not.
why did it just
Have
go
you
up to,
decided
like,
to buy
90?
one yet?
Did you blink?
It's done the job.
No, I'm looking at the attention thing. I don't
Pay
get it.
attention.
I don't know,
I'm
but
paying attention now.
it's obviously not it wouldn't be something I would use for scientific research, but it's cool to just kind of like
More
Now
like
it's at
parlor
100.
games.
Like
Yeah,
my attention
parlor
went all the way up
games.
to 100. Oh, no, there it goes.
Make a drinking game out of it.
Every time your attention wavers, you have a drink. Yeah.
anytime your attention dips below 50, we all drink. So
Drink.
Drink.
all right, there we go.
Sleep.
So, but anyway, I mean, you can get more advanced ones that have 15 points of connection, and then you end up looking like, when I had my concussion and ended up at, Kent County Hospital.
But I wonder, like, would this, like, if I just let, like, while I was like programming, I was really into it and paying attention to that.
Yep.
Like, I wonder if it would really
Yeah.
change.
So another interesting thing which I haven't shown you is that outputs to Dropbox. So you can literally set up, like I can with my Apple Watch, my pulse. Well, it outputs my brainwaves, my concentration or attention, and then my meditation. And then I can use that. I can
For
actually
what?
I can do statistical analysis. Like, I'm on my motorcycle. So then maybe my focus is a bit more up, or my pulse rate is up, and then I can start correlation between two things. Is my focus raise my heart rate, or is it my motorcycle that raises both, or is there no correlation or causation here whatsoever?
You've spent a lot of your career in academics, haven't you?
I have.
Okay.
Because you can do statistical analysis on it, Jeff.
You can. That's
yeah.
cool.
That's very
Why do
cool.
I sound like an academic? I'm so sorry. No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
I just
That's
just
like a
sounds
that could be
you're
like a
Sounds like
sci-fi,
you're a bartender.
Yeah, that's what I hope. Yeah.
It could be like a sci-fi movie, like problem where you have to focus on something, get it to a certain point, or make the wave form a certain way to open the door, and that's where the monster's coming, and you can't get the door open because you now got to try to get the shape there.
I'm gonna deborg.
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 I wish it was as easy for Picard as it was for you.
He managed.
Oh, he's still clipped.
Oh, God, my pulse is way up now. Chart that. I want a graph of that now.
I mean, realistically, is there any place in practical application for this? I mean, at this point in time, I don't think necessarily there is, but I mean, it's just proof of concept. I mean, that's what academics really is.
It's a solution
right?
looking for a problem.
Proof of concept. Yeah, yeah.
But this is, you guys were talking about this earlier. That's one of those gadgets that's out there that as you bring the price down and you facilitate, people may find things to do with stuff like that. That because it's cheap. I mean, I had a friend who did his dissertation on this like weird stuff, like looking at these bizarre faces, and he had to buy an EKG machine, and it cost, or an EEG machine, not an EKG machine. He had to buy an EEG machine. It cost like $30,000.
Right.
Wow.
But this thing cost like what, $100?
Yeah, it was 129 with
so,
the kit.
I mean, maybe somebody
Just
will figure
proof
out
of
something to
concept.
do with it, or it could be part of a game. I mean, you could have like concentration games where if you can get your
That's
attention.
the fallback, isn't it?
Yeah,
Well,
Let's
they
make
have-
a game out of it.
So they have an app store, and Minecraft is one of the apps.
Yeah, I actually looked at this. They had a bunch of like brain training games that like to improve your focus.
Yeah.
So they had like things where you were trying to make these waveforms, and it was supposed to improve, your neuron response or
Right.
something like that. So maybe there's an application for it.
Yeah.
So, Russell, you're also an amateur drone pilot.
Yeah. And
I suppose you fly for Amazon.
I know. I do not, but would be happy to. Although it has to be line of sight, so FAA regulations.
Have you ever taken a webcast outside? Can we do an outdoor drone webcast?
Oh, that would be kind of fun,
That would be kind of fun.
It have to be line of sight though,
but no audio, because all we would hear is a bunch of bees.
because there's FDA regulation. I mean,
FAA.
FCC.
Oh, and FDA also. Yeah, right. You
Yeah,
can't
it's
fly
gonna get
drone.
ugly.
Don't drink and drone, Paul.
Oh, that kind of counts that out then.
I wish Carlos is really into drones.
Yeah, I saw one on his when I went back and watched I saw one. I'd say he has the DJI Phantom. I think it was the Vision 3. I have a Vision 2. And I have the Vision 2, and I have a Vision 3 also.
I am like the world's crappiest drone pilot. Like anytime I get a hold of a drone, like it crap. Like have spare parts if I'm flying your drone.
Oh yeah.
So going back to the security portion of things, I attended the cybersecurity conference at CCRI about a year ago, and there was a guy there who was presenting on. He took a drone up about 400 feet, and he was filming and photographing people putting their passcodes into their phone. He created an algorithm and patterns, not just numeric like on iOS, but patterns. And he created an algorithm which calculated with 90% probability what the password was, even though they couldn't see the screen.
Wow.
Because he could see the pattern, he could see the numbers, and then he did another academic study.
Would you have to see the pattern?
Well, you could see the finger going around, and with probability based on edge,
It's pretty easy.
So even like on mine, if you can't see my finger, the lines aren't being drawn when
I
I get
was,
my pattern.
I
You can
went-
still predict. Yeah.
You're not saying anything meaningful. I was at an Office Depot yesterday.
We've been doing this 10 years. When the hell have I ever said anything meaningful?
I know. So I'm from the Bureau of Redundancy Department. I was at an Office Depot yesterday, and I was paying for something, and they had a chip enabled card reader, and I put it in, and they actually asked for the PIN. I'm like, oh my gosh, and the clerk behind the counter is like 2 feet away looking at me. I'm like, turn your head, because there was no cover or anything.
Yeah, I love this.
And I'm putting my PIN in, and then, of course, there's probably 3 cameras on me right now that's recorded this, which from a PCI perspective means you've got to start encrypting your video.
Yeah.
I had to throw it in there somewhere.
Really? That's where we went.
That's where we
But you
went.
look at gas pumps. I mean, I use my debit card.
Yep.
I use my debit card at the gas pump all the time.
I'll be following you home later.
And it's like, where's the protection there?
Yeah.
There-
No, I heard it.
And where are there a lot of skimmers at
Android
gas
Pay
pumps?
solves all those problems, though, right?
Hey, did you see? I saw this on Slashdot. There's a new carding gadget they were selling on the dark web that can capture, like, I think he was saying it could capture like 50 a minute walking through the airport. It was capturing a credit card off the magnetic strip,
NFC?
just remotely.
off NFC?
It was just bang, bang,
Wow.
bang. And it was really cheap. They were selling it, it was like, wow.
Because I enabled Android Pay on my phone.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't been to a store yet that actually accepts Android Pay.
Walgreens.
It's Walgreens.
Oh, wait, no, that's Apple Pay.
No, Android Pay. There's a list on their website of who supports
Of
it.
both companies that take
McDonald's.
it.
McDonald's is where I was getting McDonald's with my kids. And I'm like, oh, they accept Android Pay. I'm like, I think I'm going to enable that and just experiment.
Try it, yeah.
Try it. I mean, The worst case is they get my credit card and whatever. So.
All right, and you're not personally liable
I'm not
for
personally
that.
liable. We've talked about this.
So
a
they
lot.
find out you used it on Android Pay.
But, and they're like, "Oh wait, you enabled Android Pay like an idiot. Therefore, you're responsible."
And they're going to play a lot of episodes of this show at the trial. So,
But I haven't used it yet. Do I have to enable the app, or is it just NFC on all the time, and anyone can grab that from my phone? Like, how does it work? Does anyone know?
I don't know.
Please write into the show. If
yeah,
you've
I've
done a
never used
security
it.
analysis of Android Pay,
We'll have you on the show.
with a couple
Yeah.
of quick Google searches, I couldn't find anything. I haven't really probed much further, but it's kind of interesting when we talk about all of this technology. Really, to your point, Jeff, when attackers take notice is when they can make money on it.
Yep.
And obviously, Android Pay is something they can make money on. Now, I think there's two different classes of making money. There's the remote, like ransomware use,
Right.
so that I get
Right.
money. I never have to leave the comfort of my own home in Estonia. And then there's the physical, when you're talking about in the airport, where I have to go like collect
Right.
this kind of stuff.
But what type of encryption does NFC use by nature?
I think none.
None.
Would be my
Oh,
guess.
interesting.
And
broadcast.
I don't think it asked me for a PIN. Like I said, I haven't used it. I enabled it because I went somewhere that had it. I'm like, oh, I'm going to enable it and see. But I haven't actually.
I think it
used yet.
relies on the PIN you've already entered in your phone. So I think you're live once you turn it on.
know
I haven't
there's
used it,
there's
so
a
I don't know for
token.
sure.
There's some kind
Yeah.
of tokenization.
Well, it's like a key generator for
Oh,
the
well, you're
session.
okay
but
then if there's a token.
There's a token, so I'm totally safe.
But,
right?
So you know what's interesting about NFC is the new iPhone will have the I should say with iOS 10, it has where the vicinity of any Apple device that you're in, your phone becomes your authentication. So if I'm sitting near my Mac, I don't even have to enter a password.
Yes.
I'm with my Mac. It sees the phone through. I assume NFC.
No, might be Bluetooth Low Energy.
Maybe Bluetooth low,
I think it's
Ellie.
Bluetooth Low
All right.
Energy.
So, but there we go. There's another area that we have to explore.
That, and Larry can speak to that next time he's on the show. There's
that's
a lot of
Larry.
research going to Bluetooth Low Energy.
Yeah.
That I would assume you could potentially spoof.
Yeah.
Capture and spoof.
If you can get the keys and know the structures, but it would.
Just a replay attack would.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there might be a protection in there for replay attack. Some devices do. Some devices
Does low
don't.
energy Bluetooth though generate a unique key every time?
Can the application develop? Put it, and just.
I haven't
write it
looked
on
at the
top of
code,
low
so I don't
energy?
know.
Yeah.
I
that's
mean,
kind
if
of
it does, if it generates a unique key every time, it becomes like, because all this is just about the likelihood, how,
Yes.
and the money, and if the money's small, and now it starts
What we
to
need
become,
to do is read the independent testing report that's been done on Apple Pay and Android Pay
Yeah.
to see what was
that's
done
a
and
good
what was
idea.
tried.
Yep.
Oh wait, that doesn't
That
exist.
doesn't exist. I was gonna say that doesn't exist. And Google Wallet too. Apparently, people accept Google Wallet, which is
Yep.
another one.
I've heard of that. I've never used that one either.
Which I enabled, and I'm going to test.
Those
it out.
things make me
So-
nervous.
They
So-
do.
It's a
But
millennial
no,
thing.
I try them. No, I try.
I'm falling on the sword.
No, if you, I always link that stuff to like a low dollar credit card. That if I go get a credit card and you can, and I know you guys all know this, but I talk to people all the time. They don't realize you can call a credit card company and say, I want the limit on this lowered.
Yep.
Yes.
I make the limit on this card $100. Like I have a Starbucks that's tied to that. I'm like, okay, you hack my Starbucks thing. You got $100 to play with. Wow,
Right.
you're killing me here. And if I see that, I can just cancel the card. So I'm just going to thwart you, not with some elaborate security and pit bulls. I'm just going to thwart you by making it not worth your while.
It's interesting. Jeremiah Grossman wrote an article that talked about using a different email address for every different site that you log into.
I saw that, and that's why you can track who's selling your information and to whom.
You could almost do a similar thing with a credit card. I don't
can.
know what
Well,
they
you
would do to your
could.
credit score.
I've done that
Yeah.
for years with mailing lists
Yeah.
and things like that. Signing up for things. I always have some variations, so I see who's selling to where. But
And
yeah,
it-
you
and
could
it won't-
probably do it. Or
It
with-
won't do anything to your credit rating as long as
As long
you
as you're
pay
paying
the
the
bills
balance, right,
and
pay the
you
bills.
don't run up balances. You're fine, and you could get a different credit card.
10, 20.
Yeah, and use one. I've always told people that for travel and everything else, I'm like, get cards that have varying limits on them that don't cost anything. Set those limits to what you can tolerate. So if you've got a card that you just use to buy plane tickets, because we had a lot of talk about this in the early days of the internet, because I used to get this question all the time. I had a talk show way back then. And we got a lot of questions about that. Should I use the internet?
It was out
Should
of
I
your
buy-
basement, right?
No, it was actually out of a radio station. We had a Y2K talk show. I got lots of death threats. It was cool. I had white supremacists after me. It was quite interesting.
Wow, is there a video record of this? Can we go find
No, it was a radio show.
Radio.
The video is
Audio
really
record.
boring.
Oh, audio.
Yeah, we didn't have audio back then. We just had video. But I used to advise people that was get a card with $100 on it that you use for day-to-day purpose when you go to McDonald's. Get a card card, or when you're on the internet and you want to buy little dinky things, you want to buy a book or you want to buy this, fine, use that card. You want to buy airplane tickets, get one that's got a $2,500 limit, but don't use it except for that. So when you go to United Airlines and you buy a ticket, fine, and you know exactly what you bought, and you call them and check or whatever. And that, because early there was a lot of question about who's liable. And people were getting slammed with this, somebody stole my card, somebody guessed my card. My friend had one they racked up like $20-something thousand on in Italy, before he even knew. They stole it at a restaurant. But I used to advise them, just get 5-6 cards and designate their purpose. It won't cost you a dime, And
You do spend a lot of time paying those bills.
Well,
because what you don't want to do is be like, oh, I've got 6 credit cards now. I'm just going to auto pay them from my bank account because that defeats the purpose, right?
Well, I already do that.
You want to make sure you review and pay each.
Well, if you ask my wife, I already do that, so it wouldn't matter if it's 5 or 10. So
there is an impact on your credit rating the more cards you have.
That is true.
It does have an effect on it, but at the very minimum, if you have a card that you use, with any of the online sites you use, whether it's airline, rental car, travel, whatever,
pornography,
at least keep that separate from the one you're walking around
and
with.
you can, and then you know where to track to. It's just like a threat analysis. So you say, well, this is the card I use for pornography. Okay,
what's the limit on that card, Doug?
You don't want to put a limit on that card. Damn,
that's the high value card.
That's my American Express double platinum black card.
Yeah, the American XXX Express.
But I mean, think about it. You could do it with a threat analysis then, because I really need to watch that bill closely, because I'm using this on questionable sites. I'm using it on this site. I'm using it on that site. I have a card I would use on a site where I didn't know the site.
Yeah.
I go there and I want to buy this old guitar that I see for sale. I'm a little nervous about this site, blah, blah, blah. But of course, I use PayPal for a lot of stuff because I have double, authentication, two-item authentication on PayPal, and I've never really had a problem with it. But I mean, even then, you can just track that one, and you say, and I only use this one for airlines. So okay, there's not much risk there. I called the airline, I bought the ticket, or I bought it on their website, HTT. Okay, fine. So I think that's a good idea, but yeah, if you get too many and you get silly with it, then you can get credit problems.
Really quick, Russell, 5 questions. Did you do 5 questions yet?
No.
No. Okay, good.
He's
ready?
about to.
You ready? You're never truly ready. Okay,
Sure.
so you're going to be ready now. 3 words to describe yourself.
Impulsive, esoteric, and caring.
If you were a serial
No, I don't want that
killer,
one.
if you were a serial killer, what would be your weapon of choice?
Beer lube.
How are you going to do that? They drown in a puddle full of beer lube.
Put them in the barrel.
Full of beer lube. A serial killer with a weapon. It would have to be a laser.
If you wrote a book about yourself, what would the title be?
Entering the Matrix, something like that.
In the popular game of Ask Grabby Grabby, do you prefer to go first or second?
Well, so I don't know what that is.
Can I move now?
That doesn't matter.
Well, the lube is
And
there.
would you have one of the devices on it?
It's popular in Europe, and we don't give demonstrations.
On
Not
air.
since the nudity ban.
On air.
After the show, maybe we'll
Probably second to observe what was going on
There you go.
first.
Fair enough.
Choose 2 celebrities to be your parents.
Can they be two? All right, well.
Alive or dead, fiction
Live or dead.
non-fiction.
Oh.
Doesn't matter.
How about Stephen Hawking and Carl Sagan?
Next, you're going to talk about your telepresence robot, which is not a teledildonics robot, and I'm kind
But
of
it could be.
disappointed. It could be.
Yeah, it has a telescoping rod, so it grows and shrinks. I'll show the growing and shrinking.
That and more coming up next.